All right, let's unpack this whole Person of the Year thing from Time magazine.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating.
And we're going to try to extract some insights for everyone listening. So have you ever wondered how Time picks the person or even the thing that really shaped the year?
Yeah, for better or worse, right?
Exactly.
It's a real mirror held up to the year's events.
For better or for worse?
I think it makes you confront the figures and the forces that shaped our world.
And sometimes it's...
Sometimes it's not so pretty, right?
Yeah, let's talk about how this all started.
Oh, yeah.
Because it started way back in 1927.
Yeah, almost 100 years ago.
Almost by accident, really.
Yeah, how'd that happen?
Well, the editors at Time, they needed a year-end cover story.
Oh, so they just
They were like scrambling
scrounging around for something?
and realized they missed a huge opportunity.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
Charles Lindbergh
Oh, yeah.
made his solo transatlantic flight.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
Huge EE deal.
And they didn't put him on the cover.
I know.
I bet they were kicking themselves over that one.
Oh, I'm sure.
What a blunder.
But their solution was kind of ingenious.
What'd they do?
They made him Man of the Year
Ah.
in early 1928.
So the next year,
Yeah.
not even for the year he did the flight,
I know, it's kind of funny.
kind of a funny little quirk.
Yeah.
It's interesting, though, because it solved their problem of not having him on the cover.
Yeah, totally.
But it also started this tradition.
It's like a cultural touchstone now.
Yeah, it really is.
Okay, so to really understand how this list works, we need to get past the idea that it's like a popularity contest
Oh, yeah, for sure.
or an endorsement.
Like, they're not saying this is the best person of the year.
Right, it's not about being the best or the nicest person.
Yeah.
It's all about impact.
Right, exactly.
Pure and simple.
Influence.
Yeah, Time tries to figure out the person or the thing that had the most influence on what happened that year.
Yeah, the course of events.
And sometimes that means we have to look at some uncomfortable truths.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like,
Not every year's a good year.
1938.
Adolf Hitler,
Yeah.
not exactly someone we're celebrating.
Yep.
But you can't deny his impact.
Yeah.
He had a huge influence.
And then 1979.
Ayatollah Khomeini.
Right. So
Again, a very controversial figure.
that's where the controversy comes in.
Well, yeah. I mean, how do you acknowledge impact
Right.
without, seeming like you agree with everything?
Like you're condoning it.
Their beliefs are their actions.
Yeah,
So
tricky.
it's a tough thing to do.
Time's been navigating that for a long time.
Yeah. And they haven't always, played it safe either.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they even pushed the boundaries of, what person even means.
Yeah, remember when the computer was Machine of the Year?
1982.
Yeah.
I mean, in retrospect, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, so prescient.
A real sign of things to come.
Totally.
They recognized that technology was going to totally change our lives.
I mean, back then,
Yeah, we were just starting to figure it out.
computers were niche.
Yeah, for sure.
A little intimidating for some people,
I mean, not everyone had one.
but Time saw the bigger picture.
They saw what was coming.
Yeah, they recognized how computers could change communication.
Right, the way we get information.
Like everything.
Basically changed society as a whole.
And it's wild to see how that prediction played out over the years.
Yeah, it's really incredible.
And if the computer was a peek into the future, then when they named you Person of the Year in 2006,
Oh, yeah.
it was like
We're rival.
the future was here.
They were recognizing all those people making content online.
Yeah, like bloggers,
YouTube,
everyday folks shaping the conversation.
making their own stories and sharing them.
Powerful statement.
Yeah, it was about anyone being able to share their voice.
Anyone with an internet connection could have a global audience.
Makes you wonder how that's changed over the years.
Right, like, is you even bigger now, or...
Yeah, or has it been taken over by, these big companies?
Yeah, the algorithms.
Things like that.
It's interesting to think about.
For sure.
But Person of the Year isn't always about good stuff or progress.
Oh, yeah, sometimes it's about the bad things.
Sometimes it's about shining a light on the hard truths.
Like the endangered Earth in 1988.
That was bold.
Yeah, especially back then.
Environmentalism was just starting to be mainstream.
Right. It wasn't really on everyone's radar yet.
But Time put it front and center.
But a warning.
A reminder that we were having a huge impact on the planet.
And looking back now, it feels almost prophetic.
Oh, yeah.
Climate change is the biggest problem we face.
And that 1988 cover shows how far we've come or haven't.
It's a real stark reminder.
So these picks can really capture these big issues
Oh, yeah, for sure.
and get us thinking about them, talking about them.
Keep the conversation going.
And then there's another interesting thing about this list.
What's that?
The U.S. presidents.
Oh, yeah, they show up a lot.
It's almost like winning the presidency gets you on the cover.
It's almost a guarantee.
Almost.
There are a few exceptions, though, right?
Just a handful.
Calvin Coolidge,
Uh-huh.
Herbert Hoover,
Right.
Gerald Ford.
Those are the only ones who missed out.
Yeah.
But Franklin Delano Roosevelt,
Oh, yeah?
he won 3 times.
3 times.
So it seems kind of predictable.
Yeah. I mean,
Is it just that presidents have a ton of power?
I think it's more than just that.
Okay.
It's not just the office. It's like what's happening during their presidency.
So it makes sense.
FDR, for example.
Yeah.
First time he was chosen was as president-elect
Oh, wow.
back in 32
Oh.
because he represented hope.
Oh, during the Depression?
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense.
And then the other 2 times were during World War II.
So it's about how they handle the challenges.
Yeah, exactly.
Mostly.
So it's not a guarantee.
Right.
Being president, I mean,
Yeah.
it's about what they do.
Yeah. It's important to remember the list is about more than just presidents.
So it's a broader spectrum.
Yeah. And speaking of representation, how about women on the list?
Oh, that's changed a lot.
Yeah, in the beginning it was really different.
It was Woman of the Year back then
Like Queen Elizabeth
in 52.
and Corazon Aquino.
Yeah, in 86.
But then the switch to Person of the Year in 99.
That really opened things up.
It has been so great to see so many amazing women get recognition
Absolutely.
for everything they've done.
Yeah, in every field imaginable.
Melinda Gates,
Angela Merkel,
Greta Thunberg.
so inspiring.
And then in 2020,
Yeah.
Time created 89 covers
Wow.
featuring women
Okay,
who would have been strong contenders
I love that.
if the title had always been gender neutral.
What a great way to...
It was for International Women's Day,
Oh, wow.
celebrating those trailblazers.
Who really shaped history?
And then starting in 2022, they have a separate Women of the Year title
Oh, cool. So they highlight even more women.
each year.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's like a whole new layer to this historical record.
It really
It
is.
shows how important women's impact is.
And how that recognition is growing.
So we have the yearly selections,
Right.
but then there's the special editions too.
Oh, yeah. The ones that go beyond just a single year.
Winston Churchill was Man of the Half Century.
What a title.
Right.
Sums up his leadership perfectly.
And then Albert Einstein, Person of the Century.
Oh, yeah. That's a classic.
They even picked Persons of the Century for each century of the second millennium.
I would have to look those up.
It makes you think about how time viewed different eras.
Yeah, and who they thought were the most important people of those times.
But we can't ignore the controversial picks.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We mentioned Hitler and Khomeini,
Right.
but there are others that caused a lot of debate.
Even outrage.
Yeah.
It always
Yeah.
comes back to that impact over endorsement idea.
Right.
Time is saying, look, we're not saying they were good people,
But they made a difference.
whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
Like, take Rudy Giuliani in 2001.
Okay.
He was a leader after 9/11, for sure.
Yeah.
But some people say Osama bin Laden
Oh, wow.
had a bigger impact.
That's a tough one.
It's a hard thing to grapple with, right?
Yeah, it shows how complicated it is.
Choosing one person to represent a whole year.
And then there are the allegations and controversies.
Oh, yeah, the behind-the-scenes stuff.
Like when Michael Moore said he was supposed to be on the cover with Mel Gibson.
Oh, yeah, in 2004.
Yeah, but Gibson refused to do a photo shoot.
So they both lost out.
That's what Moore says anyway.
And then there's Donald Trump's claim.
Yeah, he said Time promised him the title in 2017.
If he did an interview and a photo shoot, Time denied it, of course.
Of course.
But it's also intriguing.
Adds to the mystery.
It makes you wonder what really goes on.
It's not all about Person of the Year anymore, though.
They've expanded, right,
Yeah.
to other categories.
They have Athlete of the Year,
Entertainer of the Year,
Heroes of the Year.
and even Kid of the Year.
Started in 2020.
That was great.
So inspiring.
Yeah, seeing young people recognized for doing good in the world
It's a nice change of pace.
from some of the more serious picks.
It seems like Time wants to show the whole picture.
Yeah, influence comes from everywhere.
All corners of society.
That's true.
And while all those categories are important,
Yeah.
Person of the Year is still the big one.
It's the one everyone waits for.
Yeah.
The one that gets people talking, arguing, debating,
Captures the year.
in a way nothing else does.
So as we wrap up this first part of our deep dive, I'm curious,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts?
What stands out to you so far?
What surprised you?
Yeah, what's made you think differently about this whole Person of the Year thing?
Take a moment to think about that.
And while you're doing that,
Yeah?
consider this.
Okay.
The list usually features people at the peak of their power, right?
Yeah, at their most influential.
But what about those whose impact is felt later?
Oh, interesting.
Years, decades.
Even century.
Yeah, whose effects are we just starting to understand now?
It's something to think about.
It's like we're so focused on the now,
Yeah.
but the real impact.
A real influence.
It takes time.
Yeah.
Like a seed,
You plant it
and you gotta wait.
to see what it becomes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
About all the unsung heroes out there.
Whose work we might not appreciate for years to come.
Maybe even longer.
Yeah.
But for now,
Yeah.
let's get back to some of those picks from the list.
Okay.
And see how they played out in real time.
Right.
The computer as machine of the year, back in '82.
Yeah. Did people even get how big that was back then?
I mean, the Time article talked about Steve Jobs and personal computers, but it was still kind of new.
Yeah.
Like this cool futuristic thing.
But not something everyone had or even understood.
Exactly. The internet as we know it.
Didn't even really exist.
Barely, yeah.
Imagine trying to explain social media back then.
Or smartphones.
Yeah.
To someone in 1982.
Like trying to describe a magic mirror.
That lets you video chat
Order groceries.
with just a tap.
Crazy.
But then fast forward to 2006,
Yeah.
you, as person of the year,
All those online creators.
full circle, right?
It's amazing how much changed in those 20-something years.
The internet exploded.
Anyone could create, share, contribute.
Time was recognizing that shift.
Yeah, user-generated content.
The power shifted to the people.
Makes you think about what you means today.
Is it still about individuals?
Or have things changed again?
With these massive tech companies.
The algorithms.
Right.
Makes you think.
It's a testament to how relevant this person of the year thing is.
Totally.
It makes us question how influence works.
In a world that's always changing.
Exactly.
And let's talk about the social and political movements on the list.
Oh, yeah.
Those are powerful.
Definitely.
The silence breakers in 2017.
Huge for the hashtag #MeToo movement.
Yeah, so many women coming forward
Sharing their stories.
about harassment, assault.
It wasn't just Hollywood either.
It was everywhere.
Right.
I felt such a sense of hope.
Yeah, me too.
Like things were finally changing.
Like people were listening.
It shifted the conversation about power.
Respect, accountability,
And it led to real change.
laws, workplace reforms.
People started examining gender inequality everywhere.
So powerful.
Time's choice didn't just reflect the moment.
It helped shape the future.
And then there was the protester in
I
2011.
think a global wave of protest.
The Arab Spring, Occupy Wall Street.
Evil.
People demanding change.
Time captured that energy perfectly.
And those protests had a real impact.
Regime changes in some countries.
Policy shifts.
A focus on social justice
A magazine cover.
became a symbol of global transformation.
The power of people coming together.
Ordinary people demanding change.
Sometimes it's not about a single person,
It's a collective movement.
driven by shared values and hopes.
Powerful stuff.
And then the Endangered Earth in 1988.
Wow, that one seems so relevant now.
It was such a bold move,
To put the planet on the cover.
and to talk about it in terms of risk.
Vulnerability.
It made us think about our impact on the world.
Even if we didn't fully understand it back then.
The environmental movement was growing.
But climate change wasn't really on everyone's mind.
That cover was a wake-up call.
A sign of things to come.
And now look at how much the conversation has changed.
Climate change is a huge issue.
Everyone's talking about it.
Times, choices, even the abstract ones,
Yeah.
can change how we see the world.
How we see our place in it. It's all connected.
It really is.
Choices, movements, global issues.
All woven together.
And Person of the Year gives us a way to see those connections.
A unique perspective.
Now let's talk about some of the picks that have caused the most debate.
Oh, yeah.
Those figures with complicated legacies.
The ones who were influential but also controversial,
Hitler, Stalin, Khomeini,
they shaped the world.
but caused so much suffering.
It makes us question the nature of influence itself.
Can we recognize their impact without condoning what they did?
It's a tough question.
It's important to understand how they rose to power.
What shaped their ideologies?
But we can't forget the human cost.
Right.
Time has always said
That it's about impact, not endorsement.
they're not celebrating these figures.
It's trying to understand their role in history.
History is messy.
It's not always pretty.
We can't ignore the difficult parts.
Or pretend they didn't happen.
Person of the Year forces us to look at that messiness
To grapple with the past.
and see how it still affects us today.
influence.
It's not inherently good or bad.
It's a tool.
That can be used for good or for evil.
And Person of the Year reflects that.
It's up to us to learn from the past.
to think critically.
And work towards a better future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's shift gears a little
Okay.
and talk about the behind-the-scenes stuff.
The drama.
The controversy.
Also whispers.
That's a whole other layer to this whole thing.
Right.
Like, remember when Michael Moore said, he was supposed to be on the cover with Mel Gibson in 2004,
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
but Gibson refused to do a photo shoot.
So they both got dropped.
At least that's what Moore says.
Right.
And then there was Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah.
He claimed Time promised him the title
In 2017.
if he did an interview and photo shoot.
Time denied it, of course.
Of course.
But still, it's also juicy.
Makes you wonder what really goes on behind closed doors.
For sure.
And Time has expanded the Person of the Year idea in recent years.
Oh, yeah, to other categories?
To recognize more people.
Then groups.
Athlete of the Year, Entertainer of the Year,
Heroes of the Year.
and even Kid of the Year.
Oh, yeah, they started that one in 2020.
It's nice to see Time recognizing all the good work young people are doing.
Definitely.
It's refreshing.
A little bit of hope.
It shows that influence can come from anywhere.
From all ages, backgrounds. And while those other categories are great, Person of the Year is still the one everyone cares about.
It's the big one. The one that sparks the most debate and discussion.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts?
What has stood out to you the most?
What surprised you?
What new perspectives have you gained?
Think about those questions for a moment.
And as you do, consider this.
Okay.
The list often features figures at the height of their power and influence.
Right.
But what about those whose impact
Felt later.
years, decades?
Even centuries later.
Yeah, whose ripple effects are we only beginning to understand now?
Yeah, it really makes you think about influence differently.
Not just the immediate impact.
Right. The long game.
It could take a long time.
For the full effects to be felt.
Sometimes decades, centuries even.
It's like planting a tree.
You don't see the full potential right away.
You gotta nurture it.
You have time to grow,
And eventually becomes something amazing.
providing shade, shelter,
Interested?
and just like some trees bear fruit,
Yeah.
some people leave behind ideas, innovations, acts of courage.
That inspire us even after they're gone.
It's a powerful legacy.
Makes you wonder who's planting those seeds today.
The ones that will change the future.
It's a great question.
But for now, let's get back to those picks from the list.
yeah,
The ones that have caused the most debate.
those figures with complicated legacies.
People like Winston Churchill,
Man of the half century.
a towering figure, no doubt.
Led the Allies to victory in World War II.
A brilliant orator,
A strategist.
but he was also a man of his time.
And some of his views
On race, empire.
don't hold up so well today.
Yeah, it's a reminder that history is rarely simple.
Even our heroes have flaws.
Contradictions.
It's important to acknowledge that.
To engage with those complexities,
We can recognize Churchill's accomplishment.
while also grappling with the less palatable aspects of his past.
History is an ongoing conversation.
We're always learning new things
Reevaluating the past.
based on new information, evolving perspectives,
And Person of the Year gives us a space to have that conversation.
to confront the complexities of history.
To see how it still shapes us today.
And it's not just about individuals.
Right.
Person of the Year highlights the power of movements
Everyday people coming together.
to demand change.
The protester in 2011.
A global wave of demonstration.
The Arab Spring, Occupy Wall Street.
People fighting for freedom.
Justice, accountability.
The outcomes were mixed.
But their impact was undeniable.
They challenged the status quo,
Inspired hope.
reminded us of the power we have.
When we work together.
Person of the Year reflects that power.
It reminds us that we can shape history.
We're not just passive observers.
We can raise our voices.
Fight for what we believe in.
And it starts with understanding
The forces that shape our world.
the individuals, the movements.
The ones who drive change.
Person of the Year gives us a way to see those forces,
To examine their impact.
to think about our own role in the future.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I'm going to leave you with one final thought. If you could choose Time's Person of the Year,
For this year.
who would it be?
And why?
Think about it.
Who's had the biggest impact on your life?
Your community.
The world.
Because we all have the power to influence,
To make a difference.
to shape the future.
That's the real takeaway.
Person of the Year isn't just a title.
It's a reflection of who we are,
Our struggles, our triumphs,
our capacity for change.
and that's something worth celebrating.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating conversation.